Hello, family. This is Pastor John with your Daily Devo, Day 12. We will be reading from Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 20. From that scripture reading, I'd like to bring your attention to the celebrated and much read author C.S. Lewis, and is entitled his autobiography, Surprised by Joy. In characteristic brilliance and artistic attractiveness, he shared the intimacies of his life, his desire to discover faith, and his difficulties in finding it. He spoke frankly of his mother's death, study and snobbery at Oxford, World War I, and his father's death, and his rediscovery of self. At last, in his room at Oxford in 1929, he wrote, "I gave in and admitted that God was God, and knelt and prayed. Perhaps that night, the most dejected and reluctant convert in all England, the prodigal son, at least walked home on his own feet." Perhaps this is the reason that Lewis was so stubborn in his insistence that Jesus was either Lord or a lunatic and a liar. There was no middle ground. It seems like the Lord himself gave no room for error on the choice of either. This is the reason Jesus asked the question of his disciples in Matthew 16, and he does it in an unusual setting. Caesarea Philippi is a 25-mile walk from Galilee. It was the northernmost boundary of the Promised Land. It seems that Jesus only traveled there once, and the visit was for this occasion. It seems like an awful long walk for 12 of his disciples, and a simple question until you understand the context of the town. The town was originally known as Paneas, for the Greek god Pan, who, according to Greek myth, was born in a cave outside the city. Now, history tells us that this cave was sacred to the pagan legends and sacrifices had occurred there. It was against this backdrop that Jesus poses this question. Jesus is making a not-so-subtle statement. He is trying to allow his disciples to see his preeminence over the spirit of the age represented by the paganism in the city. After this, he will show three, Peter, James, and John, his glory on the Mount of Transfiguration. Peter makes the great confession, Jesus is the Messiah. In other words, Jesus is God. Notice, Jesus never corrects him. He actually blesses him for having his eyes opened. We must all answer that question. Is Jesus really who he claims? If he is, then he becomes Lord over all, the culture, our thoughts, and our lives. Everything comes under his lordship. There's no middle ground. So as we reflect on this, the question is Jesus Lord of your life? And how would you define that lordship? I pray you contemplate this and have a wonderful day. God bless you.